Hi, my name is Emily McCormick. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and I grew up and lived my whole life about 15 minutes south across the Tennessee Mississippi state line in a little town called Hernando. It's not so little anymore. A lot of people have moved there, and the traffic is really bad. Not as bad as Oxford, but it's really bad, and it's the worst part about going home is dealing with that and then having to come back and dealing with more bad traffic. I can't start talking about this or I will not stop. So, lived there my whole life, went to school 15 minutes down the road. I came to Ole Miss because I love in state tuition, and I also was really drawn to the journalism program here. I'm a journalism major, specifically visual journalism, and my minor is in English. Um, some of the commitments that I have this semester, beyond school, of course, I work as much as I can as a veterinary assistant at Crossroads Animal Hospital, which is down Highway 6 if you're going towards Batesville. Um, it's great. I love working there. I love working with the animals. Animals are a huge passion of mine. Um, I love my job, basically. But I am going to figure out how I can balance studying and keeping on top of my grades and my studies and also working and supporting myself. So we're going to figure that out this semester. Another big commitment of mine is you've probably heard her. Her name is Stevie. She is my dog. I got her about a month ago from the shelter in my hometown, actually. And she is a big commitment that I gladly bear because she has brought so much joy and love and happiness into my life since I got her. And she's named Stevie after Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac and of solo career fame. So I felt it was important that you all know that. But she's very sweet. I wish I could show you her, but she is munching on a bone, and I'm not going to disturb her, or she will start trying to eat my backpack. So I'm going to leave her be. But she's a big commitment. Some of my hobbies really pertain with my commitments. School and journalism. I love taking photos, well, not just for school, but also just for recreational fun times, I just love using my camera. I love taking pictures. I love taking pictures on the walks I take Stevie on. I love walking. I love going hiking when I can. We do a lot of trips on that little South Campus Rec Center trail area. I think it's called the Rail Trails. We love going there. Sorry, just making sure she's eating a bone and not a something important like my phone charger, which already was chewed up once. Back to the point. My hobbies: photography, writing. I'm a journalism major, English minor. I'm going to be writing in this class. I love writing. It's been a passion of mine for a really long time. And also, I would say music as well. I love playing the guitar. I can play the piano, though I'm not very good at it. I've kind of forgotten everything that I used to know. And I also play the ukulele, but everybody in Gen Z, I feel, plays the ukulele or has at some point. So music is also a big hobby of mine. But to get into a little bit about the class, my definition of gender studies, I have filmed this video several times, and I can never give a clear and concise answer. So I will just say what I'm thinking. And that is, gender studies is a way to zoom out and look at the way the gender binary affects us and affects so many parts of our life. Something that kept popping up in my head when I was trying to think of how I would define gender studies is like the classic, back in our caveman days, women were the hunters, men were the gatherers. Why is that the way that the system was set up? Does it have something to do with what does it have something to do with? That's the question that I think gender studies tries to examine. How has that hunter-gatherer, male-female dynamic of so many years ago, how has that evolved over time, and what does it look like today? Because I am gonna say someone much smarter than me out there has determined what the hunter-gatherer dynamic looks like in today's day and age. Possibly the homemaker, this rise of, trad wife influencers and everything. I think we're kind of as a society, as a culture, moving backwards in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, I've seen that in the way that the man going out to make the money and the woman staying home to be the dutiful homemaker who has 12 kids and makes fresh cooked meals for every single meal of the day. Every single thing is made from scratch. I just think gender is an influential part of so much of our lives, and I really appreciate that gender studies takes a step back and looks at that from a more objective sense, or as objective as you can be, To move on to Appalachia, I have always had this strange affinity for Appalachia. I think it was because my parents took me to Gatlinburg a lot as a kid. And my favorite part was just driving through the mountains and seeing the mountain range and looking at the trees and the rivers and the black bears. I just love it so much. And I could definitely see myself moving to East Tennessee or North Carolina at some point in my life. So that was part of the reason that I took this class. I thought if I want to live here in the future, I should know a little bit more about the history. Please don't eat my backpack. Sorry. Come here. Here's Stevie. Say hello. Say hello. Okay, I gotta finish my video now. But I've always been drawn to Appalachia as a region, and admittedly I don't know much about the history. The geography is, you can pick it out on a map, I could pick it out on a map, but as far as culturally, I'm not super clear on what the specifics of Appalachian culture are. I would say from what I do know that it's very similar to Southern culture, in the way that, we all started from immigrants from whatever corner of the world our ancestors came from. And I think the South and Appalachia also share a common stereotype in popular culture. Please stop. Sorry, she's eating my desk. I filmed this video 5 times and I would like to post this one. So I would say that the South and Appalachia are very similar culturally just because of the stereotype by popular culture and anyone outside of Appalachia in the South that we're kind of just looked down upon. Our knowledge and our education is undermined, our accents are made fun of, our food is made fun of, there's just so many things that I feel like people who aren't from these two regions, there's a lot that they have to say about us, and so I think the South and Appalachia kind of face that together, almost. I think a class about gender, geography, and Appalachia is really going to zoom in on the history of Appalachia and what gender has looked like specifically in that region. I kind of looked ahead in some of the classwork, and I see that we're going to be talking about the coal mining era, which of course we are. I admittedly and unfortunately don't know much about it, but from what I do know, the movies I've seen, the photos I've seen, I've watched. Do you read a photo essay? Do you watch a photo essay? I don't know. Several photojournalism stories about Appalachia, and the struggles they faced as a region. I think a class about gender, geography, and Appalachia will really examine how gender has impacted that region of our country. I know that we're going to talk about the coal mining era, and I can definitely see the gender binary playing out there and how the men went off to the mines and the women stayed home and raised the kids and cleaned the house and cooked the food and all that. So I'm really interested to, not only learn more about that part of Appalachia's history, but also look at it from a gender studies lens, and see how that has impacted that region of the country and their history so much. I took this class because like I said, of my interest in the region of Appalachia. It just sounded really interesting to me to examine the way gender operates, or has operated in specific regions of the country. I would love to take a class like this about the South as well, or about any area, region of the country, area of the world. Um, but like I said, I've always just had an affinity for Appalachia and the mountains and the way the like foggy air feels on your face and how they literally have the best pancakes I've ever eaten. I don't know why. The best pancake I've ever had was in Tennessee in the Appalachian Mountains. So that's a tangent. I won't go on a pancake tangent right now. But I took the class just because of those reasons. My interest in Appalachia and also my interest in gender and understanding how it impacts us and impacts me. What do I hope to learn? I hope to learn more about the history of Appalachia and, of course, how gender has influenced it. But also, I am just excited to learn more about their history and how they're similar. Maybe my thesis will be proved incorrect, that we are totally different and we have no similarities, or maybe the South and Appalachia are far more similar than I thought. But yeah, I'm really excited for this class, and I look forward to interacting with all you guys. Bye!